morning, afternoon, and evening, Supercoach Elites. Welcome back to another Supercoach Elites YouTube video. My name's Corey, here today to go through what was round one, the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, the ugly. There was a little bit. I'll talk about today how to do a little bit of loop action coming into the bye round as well, and just my early thoughts. The potty was recorded yesterday, so a little bit more than, just over, 24 hours after that. Coming back just with a little bit of YouTube content, bit of a cool, bit of a feelers. My thoughts and opinions are very similar with a couple of different things in there after a play around today and chatting with the Patreon. So it's been a fun day of Supercoach. For those who listened in and seen it, it was an okay start. Check out the rankings. Scored a 2070, which ranks me 69,000 overall. Not ideal at all. Not where I wanted to start. However, that is okay because there are a few mistakes that were made. Super easy to correct in round one. It's not so much about how you start, it's how you finish. It's the journey to get there in the end as well. So, I have set my team straight back to the start. You will notice that there is a little boost button selected. Doesn't matter, tick that, untick it. Does not make a difference. Even if it's ticked and you don't use it, it does not count towards a boost. Tim English VC, and I had to go balls out and go Jackson with the captain because of this. Let me show you these. What was on the weekend. Why are they not popping up? Oh, legs, stupid idiot. Game day. And a little bit of a killer. Like, let's check out round one. A couple of my mistakes that just led me, and we'll talk through this as well. 40-point loss in a cashy, 20-point loss in a cashy, 24-point loss in a cashy, 19-point loss in a cashy, and a win in one cashy, surprisingly enough. But let's talk about what cost me last week, and it was none other than Jimmy the Boy Harms. We could probably argue it was the VC and captain on the English and Jackson combo. Normally 119 in that week I probably would have taken, but had to go balls deep. That's not what failed me though. On Saturday, I got very tempted to go back from English to Gone. I didn't do it because that would have just thrown out the video that I recorded last week, so fuck it, let's go balls deep. Went English. I'm not overly annoyed. Gawn historically plays the doggies really well, and has outscored English the last 4 times now, I believe that is, that they've gone up. They both score. It's okay. It's all right. I'm not stressed about that pick. I'm not worried about no Max Gawn. Right? He hasn't turned up the last 2 times versus the Hawks, both last year. Reeves is a very good counter ruckman. The thing that scared me the most in that game was the hit pointer, but we're going from there. Harmsy, sorry, I should make sure that's a little bit clearer. Harmsy with the 35, that was the killer. I fielded any other player. I think Harms was actually in, I don't know, he was in my defence. I fielded McKercher, I put him in the forward line, I go Windsor, I go Cadman, I go really well. Let's fix this up so it doesn't look as ugly. Oh, excuse me, we will go vice captain on Dacos this week too, I'm pretty sure. And it will be a Dacos into Tom Green. Might even be Bont. I'm not too sure where I'll go there. Tom Green, I always rather the VC rather than the captain. Beautiful, averaging 142. Great start, huge scores, 130, 150s. Same as that kind of Heeney thing, but these players don't average 130, 150, 140 through the year. They do historically have to come down at some stages, and that is fine. Heeney, I think, will be more back end of the year than front end of the year. And we will talk about that shortly because I am going to have a look at the trades. Now, Gibkiss injury, I did say to anyone, I said it on this video last week, we said it on the potty, make sure you've got the money to go Mass. Mass was my big winner for the week. So happy I started that. Probably the saviour. Dorse, I'm not really overly concerned about. Tommy Green, yeah. Zach Fisher, underwhelming. Panic stations aren't there. I mean, have a look at this Zach Fisher. Last year, opponent 113 on Freo. Don't know why that is not there. 75 on the Brizzy Bears too last year as well, with an 80 previously in 2019. You can't really take much in that. Finished the year rather strong. And I mean, we've already seen these things, these stats of years finished and stuff like that too. I'm a little bit worried about Zach Fisher. I will go through what the trades were. Now, people are going to call me insane. Reid, Gibcus, the Reid injury of 4 to 6. Gibby, I am probably going to go and move Gibcus to Marty Hoare this week. He's got the history. He does have an injury risk history, which is alarming. But little Bowie. I was looking at Howes and just confused. Being injured with that broken collarbone, that's an 8-weeker. I think Hoare's job security is very safe. I don't trust Pink. I really do not trust Caulfield. And I'd rather have a look at those two to decide what I'm going to do. We had the concussion to Warner at Freo as well, who was looking really good and probably would have been a serious look in. So that might be, depending if he comes back into that team after that injury, he was flying. So there's a couple of players we're going to look at, but I don't want to get into this situation next week where I don't have Dempsey, I don't have Sharp, and I don't have Carroll. We went pretty deep diving into Carroll in the potty and just spoke about the fact that will he be sub? We don't think he will, but there is that chance. So my Jets could cool next week, especially after him having the bye. I do like the fact that he's coming off the bye. But however, Sharp, I don't have, and that's a 70. And I'm going to want it. And Dempsey I don't have with that huge game last week, and I'm probably going to want them too. And if there's any correctional that I'd have to use a boost next week, I don't want to be thinking, shit, I've got to fix the Gibcus news now. I don't have to go up because obviously I already had Ambrosio. So my first trade, which is a very unconventional one, and that's going to be very team dependent, is going to be the Hoare himself in the Marty Kind. So that puts 112k in the bank. The next trade, which is a super easy one. Now, I don't really want to trade out James Harms because he throws some pretty good headbutts, and I don't know how that correlates into Supercoach points, but I don't mind him headbutting the big fella. If you're going to headbutt anyone, always headbutt someone bigger than you. Just got to do... I'm pretty sure I had it like this, and I will explain why Windsor's gone into the middle as well. And it is Jackie Boy Billings, 126,700 in the bank, which yesterday when doing the pod, hadn't really had too much look into it. It was, very, very early days, quick conversations, etc. I was very big on not trading Zach Fisher, and I think the case was because a lot of it was Zach Fisher down to Billings. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. I don't love that unless it's for the money to get Massimo, and if that's the case, then so be it. It is what it is. But the one I didn't mind was Fisher up to Heeney, and I didn't realise that I had the money to do that. So it wasn't in my team beforehand, but it is something I'm seriously considering. There are a lot of people who want to back in Fisher. I get it. I'm not overly frustrated in Fisher. I'm not angry in Fisher. I think Fisher's role is going to be fantastic. I think it is going to be off the half-back flank still. I think he's got every chance to score 100 this week. So why am I saying these things and potentially moving him? And the reason to that is purely just off the fact that I may be a little bit scared of this Heeney thing, that if Heeney does actually pop, I will have to be paying so much more for Heeney than what would go on Fisher already, and it wouldn't be Fisher, it'd be a long-term wait. I read a little thing from Johnny Longmire before. Hang on, I'll get it back up here right now. Makes for good television when someone's reading off the phone, but oh no, I think I've lost it here. And it was more along the lines of the plan was to play him a fair bit in the midfield this year, and certainly is for the first half of the year. So Johnny Longmire's come out and said himself that unless there's a problem, that he will stay midfield unless there's a scoring problem. What happens when the rest come back? And this has been large talks in the Patreon, on this Discord channel, I should say. I think Sydney should probably not bring Adams back in as a Collingwood supporter, but I think they will. I think Parker should go and sacrifice the way. Niels, like was talked about on all different channels, should play elsewhere, and I think they should leave that Bull in the middle. However, he is so good as a forward, it's ridiculous, and I think that could very well be the case. Isaac Heeney for the future too. When I'm recording, if I'm going to paraphrase any quotes, I will have them up on the screen. I do apologise for that. Like I said, I wasn't really planning on doing this video now. I was going to do it tomorrow, but just quickly jumped on. I just wanted to have a look at, this is the interesting one, season 2022, because we start off with a 141 and a 140, and how similar is that to the start of this season? We backed that up with an 88, and then went 131, 112, and then it was a significant drop off with only one more ton in like the next 6 or 7 games of 124, but he finished the season rather good. So this was his impressive year. And then we went into last year where it went back into that forward mould, and not a lot of us started him because we had, those other Tarantos, etc. to start last year too. But if he does do that form, like, this is a man who's top 6, especially the way he's playing. Ranked the number 1 player in Champion Data AFL ranking system 2 weeks in a row. The only player to do it 3 times is Dustin Martin, and there's every chance he can do it this week. And I think the more I look at it, it's not so much the Fisher fact. It is simply that I am so scared that this guy could get to 600,000 and become out of reach. The other one that I could look at is Flanders. I hate the fact that I don't have both, let alone either of them. The Mars Stadium factor this week, midfielders who are crafty and classy and use the ball well tend to normally struggle in this game. So I think the best case scenario here for non-Flanders owners this week would literally be that something goes wrong and we get not as much as a gain. I think Heeney might be the more important of the two. I don't know. I know for my team, Heeney has the better buy. Let me just show you something here. Something that I've done all pre-season, and it's the reason I don't have Matt Rouse. I've become so buy conscious. Let's go round 3 and activate it. So this is the GWS and Gold Coast buy. If I was to bring in Flanders, I can move him into the midfield as well, but I'd have the 2 here already, which means it would just be a 6 rotation with Flanders and my loop only in the midfield, if that's making sense. Whereas if I bring in Heeney like I have, I can actually move James Jordan into the midfield, and then I've got the loop combination with Clark and the rest, or a Sharp or whoever it is, and I've got the loophole option here, like if I went hypothetically Cadman and Heeney. So I think and I obviously have it down back after I touch up read, I think for the pure factor of the buys, and it is an overall and a league thing as well, that this week I will look at Heeney rather than Flanders. A little bit scared. I think I'm going to talk myself into Heeney. I like to look better when Heeney's in there. And I will flick all this back around, but hypothetically it's this. So that's where I'm leaning towards with my team this week. And like I said, it's not kind of ideal that I've done what I've done, but it is what it is. Now, something that I want to show you as well is this buy loop with Jared Lyons and the Windsor, and I mean obviously all my emergency screwing up here, not fantastic, but the ruckman combination, depending on what you've got, play the ruckman that plays first on the bench all the time, so you can at least have a look at the score while you've got Livingston, a lot like I did last week, where you can have a look at the forward as well and fuck around. Oh, no, it's not going to work as well. Sorry, this week. Apologies. I thought Freo played Sunday. Ignore that. Get whatever you want on the field, but Livingston plays at the end. You don't need that captain option there now. But we will talk about that as we go along each week in the season for those that have that Livingston combination. But what I'm going to do here is I think it's going to be a little bit of Riley Sanders. I can't even remember what I had when I first logged on here, but we'll have a look at this. We come in, we get the ability to use Lyons and Williams throughout as a loop. So, sorry, it doesn't work in the back line unless you trade Reed this week. But, like, for instance, in my midfield, we can decide on whose score that we want to take depending on how well they work. And it is a loop factor. So, Sanders plays on Sunday, for instance. If I wanted to do it with him and I was worried about that sub-risk, for me, the emergency will hop on Caleb Windsor. Hypothetically, Windsor comes out with a score like he did last week, 72. I'm definitely going to want to take that. The emergency comes here, and then that becomes my loop. So, Lions is on field, I'll automatically get Windsor's score. I'll fade on Sanders' score. You can do this with Clark and Windsor. You can do it with anyone. So, don't forget to utilise these matchups this week. It is best 18. It works really, really well. And I'll just leave that there for now because I know what I'm going to do. Down back is where you're going to use your captain's score. If you're similar to me, where it is going to be Williams and Reed, or a Gipkiss. So the emergency stays on House or Hoare or whoever you want. I definitely want the Hoare on field. And then, for instance, you can take the captain score with Williams as well. So you've got the loops where you don't have to use Livingston or anything like that. The captain score will double as the last game, as that West Coast GWS game starts. That has been confirmed by Supercoach again this year, which, fuck, why would it not? And yeah, so you can decide your VC score off that. So if Dacos pops off tomorrow night, I can take the Dacos score with a Zach Williams and everything's set up with my team there. That's essentially all I wanted to talk about. There was a little bit. Billings, let me deep dive into it more. I cannot fathom how he started a sub week 1 with that game on the weekend. It was incredible. It was gut running to its extreme. There was a lot of heart. There was tackles. It was a man with a point to prove. Does he do that if he wasn't sub? I don't know. So, look, it is what it is. I was lucky in a sense that as much as I'm cursing Harms because he literally cost me 4 leagues and a nice score. I mean, if I had this combination they got sitting here rather than what I had previously, ignoring the Gipkiss one, but that's 100+ point swing and, it's huge. So, I'm very optimistic on Billings. I can understand if you are going to fade it in a lesser extent. But yeah, each to their own. I go there. Players that I'm worried about at the moment: Ned Flanders. Can't be worried about Heeney if he ends up in my team. Harry Sheasel. One that definitely doesn't get enough respect. Freo at Marvel could be a huge bang, and I think that could be the same for McKercher or Fisher. I think all 3 of them could go absolutely off tits, and it could be a pretty impressive score. But so be it. All right, I'll leave that there. If you want to chat, we've had a couple of new sign-ups to Patreon this week. It's been really, really good. My PMs are open, DMs I should say. Slide in there, send me a team. This is for the Patreon, so it's on Discord. Jump in, follow the links, get on board. So on behalf of myself and the patrons at patreon.com/SC Elites, peace out and thank you for watching.